Hey everybody, Rev here. I am your host and producer of the Crit Show, a Monster of the Week actual play podcast, but we are here for a different purpose this week. Around the table, I have got...
Tass, hi!
Megan, also hi!
Yes, and we are here to play Starscape. This is a game created by Kimmy from Golden Lasso Games. How are you?
Hi, good to see you all and be here today.
So, can you tell us a little bit about, before we kind of jump into this, what Starscape is about?
Starscape is my ode to episodic sci-fi and found family and space stories, which I just love so much. I've watched a ton of it. Firefly, Farscape, Babylon 5, all the Star Treks, all those things about, people coming together and this weird roommate situation and surviving in the dangers of space together and making it work and all the weird human and also alien connections that happen there. I just love that so much. Another great touchstone is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers, which is an amazing book all about that sort of thing. So I decided to write a Powered by the Apocalypse game, a hack about it. And there's a lot of other mechanics too, which we'll talk about as you go through this system.
You want to lead us through character creation?
Yeah, we have a universe to build. All right. I love this part. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set the scene. So what flavor of science fiction do we want? There's a whole bunch of, there's some options listed, but also we can combine or make up our own. So some of them are like post-apocalyptic, like Battlestar Galactica, utopian exploration, like Star Trek Next Generation, Lower Decks, near future, Star Trek Enterprise, Expanse, space western. This one's really popular, like Cowboy Bebop, Firefly, The Mandalorian. Space opera, this is more like Farscape, Babylon 5, or retro future. Unfortunately, this hasn't been used enough in episodic sci-fi, but this is more like Jules Verne or like Treasure Planet, which I might be aging myself, but I love Treasure Planet.
It's so good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And just to be clear, if you want to, we can play in a set IP, but we can also just use these as inspiration to make something of our own.
We've done a lot of pirates and westerns lately. How about space opera?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
All right. If this was a television show or movie, what would it be rated? All ages, like rated G or PG, 13 plus, rated PG-13, or 18 plus, R?
Since this is a Let's Play, and for, a lot of people to learn, let's keep it PG.
Yeah. Sounds great.
Yeah.
Sure.
Megan seems uncertain. She's mad that she's going to get less F-bombs.
I'm just going to have to tone down the flirting, I think.
No, we can do it. We'll just do it like the 80s movies where we slowly pan to like the curtains blowing in the breeze at night. Yeah. We slowly zoom past you into the fireplace that's burning. So it'll be fun. Next is, does the real Earth and its history exist in our universe? Yes, no, or maybe, but it's basically just a legend.
I think so.
Earth's fine.
Yeah, it's out there.
It's all right.
It can stay.
And then, do non-human species exist in our universe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
There's a gleam in both of their eyes as they said that.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Amazing.
Stop looking at my playbook.
Describe your crew. So are you trained service members? So you've been trained by an influential organization but are mostly autonomous. Choose this if your crew comes together to handle situations with far-reaching impacts such as diplomatic missions, intergalactic politics, rescuing civilizations, exploring, and going where no one has gone before. Are you independent operators? You're your own bosses and take jobs as you get them. Select this if you want to deal with smaller scale stories involving the financial and moral challenges of day-to-day life as spacers. Your goal is simple. Find a job and keep flying. Fortune's fools. Chance or fate has forced your group together and you are making the best of it despite the complications. Select this if you want to deal with the challenges of maintaining a shared purpose for your crew while you bounce around the galaxy. Are you being hunted? Are you looking for someone or something? Or maybe you're just doing everything you can, looking for a way home.
I like the Fortune's Fools. I think it's interesting to have maybe a little bit of struggle of why you're together, like having to bring focus back to whatever your shared purpose is.
Okay.
Like that. Awesome. So one of the things we're going to have to think about as we're going through the rest of character creation is what pushed your group together and why are you staying together? And for this, we're not going to have an official captain. At least not yet. Maybe one of you will step up and become a captain, or maybe you will hire a captain. One of the things the system does have, it has an NPC captain mechanic. That's basically, I role play the captain, but we use your trust scores to make the decisions. So you have scenes kind of like Picard in his ready room with everyone giving ideas. And then as a crew, you get to decide which ideas you agree with. And then we add up trust scores and that makes the decision. So and that takes the responsibility off of the player to be like the boss of their friends at the table. So you have an NPC captain, but you still have the agency as players.
Nice.
But as Fortune's Fools, we don't have to worry about that today. But just so you know, it's there. All right. So the next thing we have to do is we have to build our ship. So there's 5 different style choices. These are mostly narrative and like just add a ton of flavor to the campaign. So there's not like a huge disadvantage by choosing one ship to another mechanically. They all kind of work the same way as far as dice rolls, but they hugely influence the story based on what you pick. So we have the Behemoth. It's a huge transport originally designed as a colony, military, or cruise ship. You have the Flagship, a high-tech starship with advanced abilities. The Light Freighter, a small to mid-sized cargo carrier. The Living Being, a giant living organism that we are living inside or on top of. And then the Throwback, a steam or sail-powered vessel like those from another era.
I kind of want it to be alive. Probably not the way that I immediately envisioned it with the description of being on top of. Like, I understand that that's probably in like a dome or something atop something's back, but I was just picturing somebody holding on to something's back screaming through space. And that's really funny to me. But maybe like the other vibe of that, inside of something, or like something with a dome on it, or I don't know.
I like that. It makes me think of the bioship from Young Justice.
Oh,
I
yeah.
need to watch that.
Totally a touchstone. I love that show. So, yeah. And you can also do things like, I mean, not to pull out Treasure Planet again, but like in Treasure Planet, they're on tall ships in space and they're still okay. So there's like the magic bubble of you can breathe while climbing a mast in space. Like, so if you decide to have a living being, you can be on their back and you're just like, oh, there's air in this particular spot. Or maybe there's like a psychic. We can come up with reasons for you to be on their back if that's what you'd prefer. So we're going with living being then?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
all right.
no one's shaking their head at me. So,
all right. So the living being. So the first thing we need to do, you're going to have to name it eventually. So do you want to start with that, or do you want to wait till the end?
let's figure out what this thing is.
Yeah.
Yeah. The challenge of a character sheet. You want the name up at the top, but that's always the hardest thing and always the thing you come up with last.
Absolutely.
All right. So then we're going to describe our ship. So you'd choose 3 of these options. So obviously this is just to kind of inspire and give the idea. So you can add stuff too. This isn't the entirety of what's describing your ship, but you're going to choose 3 of these things. Ship description: scaled, smooth, mysterious, wise, moody, disfigured, curious, calculating.
You said pick 3?
Yeah, you're going to pick 3 of those.
I like moody and curious.
Okay, those are fun.
I picked that it's alive, so you get the last one right.
Oh, fair. I think I want it to be smooth. Like you break open a thermometer in space, like just
Oh, yeah.
the flowing metal.
Ooh.
That's cool.
Mercurial.
Yeah.
So our ship is smooth, moody, and curious. And the pronouns, what pronouns do we want for our ship? What do you refer to it as? Like the old people of the sea are like, she is a great ship. So it can be, since it's a living being, maybe it's what it uses for itself. Maybe it's what you've given it. Any of the above.
How are we communicating with it? Like, can it talk to us, or do we get just vibes, or are we actually getting information from it if it's a living being? Or can we?
That's going to be a thing we're going to decide a little bit farther into the process, but we can be thinking about it.
Let's do pronouns after that.
Yeah.
Then.
Okay, perfect. All right. We've already decided that we're Fortune's Fools, so there's not really going to be a captain. Crew size, are you the only ones aboard, or are there a few other crew members?
I like just us.
Propulsion. So is it self-propelled by limbs? Does it soar on solar winds? Or does it glide on galactic ley lines?
Soar. I'm picking a lot of these, I realize, in the moment, but solar wind sounds so cool.
Yeah. Especially if it's like a kind of a flowy thing that it can like make little pockets to catch and, steer itself.
Oh, nice.
I like that. All right, defenses. And these are different for all the ship books, too. So if you'd picked a different one, there'd be different options, obviously.
Oh, cool.
Most ships don't have propelled by limbs as an option.
Oh, well, fair.
All right, so for defenses for the living being, does it have natural armor? Does it have constructed armor that maybe you've made for it? Does it have, maybe it makes an ink or a gas cloud, kind of like an octopus or a squid, like to get away? Does it have uncontrolled flight, like it just zaps away and you don't really get to pick any direction? Yeah, it was completely lifted from Farscape, which you should watch. Or does it have no defenses at all?
I feel like it's either natural armor or the ink, like that it can make a cast off from its body. I don't want to say.
I think ink sounds super cool. Like to just have an ink cloud in space
Yeah.
is so neat.
Suddenly it's even more pitch black out. How is this even happening? Yeah, that's cool.
Okay. Well, and since it's made of like a mercury metal type substance, maybe that cloud has little metal bits that like throw off sensors and stuff too.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and I don't think it's like ink, like black ink. I feel like it is also silver. Like it's a silver
Yeah.
cloud.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a glitter bomb.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Love
That's
it.
great.
Okay. Amazing. Okay, and weapons. If it has weapons, does it have like ramming capabilities? Like it can throw itself into stuff? Projectiles? Energy blasts of some type? Or maybe it doesn't have any weaponry?
Ooh.
How does that work with it if it rams, if it's kind of like a blob cloud?
Maybe it because we live on it. So it seems like there will probably be some like structure. Maybe it can solidify, like if it puts its front like into a cone and it becomes hard.
It's a Terminator.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
Amazing.
I love it.
Okay, I love it so much. All right, so in quirks. So there's one given. It can assist the crew, but it has a mind of its own. So, like, yes, if you're all in trouble, it can take action, but it also sometimes might refuse, like, what you want and stuff. So that just comes with working with a living being. So you get to pick another quirk. So the choices are, it can communicate directly, but it has a lot of opinions. It is an experienced traveler, but is getting old. And it is in the prime of its life, but at some point will need to reproduce.
I just finished reading a book series where all spaceships, like the big, enormous ones, have a ship mind that is literally like someone has gone, I want to become a ship mind. And so they donate their mind to this science thing, and then it just keeps growing and growing. It is a living personality. So I love the idea of it being able to communicate with us, but having opinions.
Very opinionated. I
Yeah.
think that goes well with it being like moody and curious.
Yeah.
Like it's a teenager ship.
Oh, no.
Yes, excellent. Very good. Is that the Bobverse books?
No, someone did tell me to read those. It was Sleeping in a Sea of Stars.
Okay, I'll write that down. All right, so we kind of have a little bit of a better picture of what our ship looks like now. We're going to pick the areas of the ship. Now, just so you know, your ship already has some basic functions. It's got communications, it's got defense, it has life support, propulsion, navigation, and weapons. There's 6 systems in the ship because we're playing PBTA and we're using D6s. So you start off the game with 2 hitboxes for each section, basically. 1 hitbox, and it's narrative, it's damage. It doesn't really change. It still functions, but just narratively we know, we might be in trouble. If 2 boxes, if both boxes are marked, then you know, okay, that system is not working anymore. So you won't be able to use it until somebody or something repairs that part of the ship.
Okay.
So areas of the ship. This is just kind of to create a shared narrative. I do a lot of convention GMing. So, people show up at the table, you don't know them, you're running these games for them. And I did one years ago where it was at a high school. It was like teenage superheroes or something like that. And we were getting in this combat and it was just going sideways. Like nobody knew what was happening. And I suddenly realized everyone was picturing their own high school as we were doing this fight.
Oh, wow.
So it's like, no, we have to go past the gym to the pool. That's where they are. And everyone's like, no, the pool's near the front. And like, it was like, suddenly we had this huge, light bulb moment. Now in all my systems, I write in, okay, we're going to decide what is on this ship. So we're not, oh, well, I'm going to engineering. Wait, we don't have engineering. Like, So this is just kind of a shared understanding. It doesn't change the mechanics. Like, you're not going to have trouble if you're like, no, we don't have a armory. That's fine. You still have guns. It's not going to change the story in any way. Okay, so airlocks. How many would you like to have? And these are obviously narrative appropriate space metal goo airlocks or whatever is appropriate for your living being.
Does the ship know, like, oh, there's 3 people on here most of the time? So, like, I have one for each of them.
Like we have our own separate entrances and exits.
Yeah, like it's just like, that's logic. There's 3. I have to make sure there's 3
ways to get in.
Yeah.
Now, are they there all the time, or do they just appear when you need them? Like when you walk up to a wall, does the airlock appear?
I like the idea that it's going to be at the same spot every time, but it does kind of just close up. Like it just...
Put your hand on it and it opens up.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Wait, but then what if your hands are full?
We can talk to it.
Yeah,
that's true.
Right?
It will tell you, your hands are really cold this morning. Can you rub them together before you open the airlock, please, next time? All right. I have to come up with the ship voice. I'm excited. Okay. Do you have an armory? Or is it more like a gun closet type situation? Or
I don't know the vibe quite yet, but I don't know that we're that fancy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like we don't prioritize weapons enough to have an entire space dedicated. Feels like it's just like there's a pile somewhere.
All right. Is there like a bridge or more of a cockpit type thing in this ship?
I think it'd be more like a cockpit, but not super cramped. Like the 3 of us could fit in there if we needed to discuss something, but it's not like a hangout spot.
Okay. All right. Do you have a brig?
I have this idea of like, there is a place to put like bad people, but we don't know where it is. Like we bring them onto the ship and then they sink into the floor or something.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
So
That's
like,
amazing.
we assume that they're still there.
I was going to say, we assume that it eats them.
No, we assume that it's bringing them. Maybe there's a bone room. Who knows? I don't know if that's on the list.
Because we've never thought
This
to
is
get the people back out again.
This is a PG game, though.
No, that's fair. There's no blood on the bones.
Yeah.
All right, very good. Is there like cargo hold and hangar bays, or like what is on the ship as far as that, like storage?
Definitely a cargo hold.
Do you want to have bunks or crew quarters? Like you all share a room and have like hammocks or whatever, or do you have like your own rooms?
Own rooms.
I'd snore. You guys don't want to share a room with me.
Great. We don't have officers, so we don't need officer quarters. Do you have like a passenger quarters?
Maybe like one extra
Okay.
for in case we have a guest.
Okay. It's like a storage room the rest of the time.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. It seems like you're pretty casual, so you don't. It doesn't sound like you'd want like a conference room or a ready room.
No, I imagine it's like small enough that we just have kind of one space where we do all the important stuff that needs to be done.
Awesome.
Like important stuff like decision making and mapping things out, or like, is this like a Firefly situation where it's like also where we eat dinner?
Yeah, I think it's a Firefly. It's there is a big table that serves a lot of purposes, and we cram as many purposes as we can into that space.
Okay.
Nice.
Perfect. Well, that answers my next question, which is, do you have a galley or like a mess hall? So galley it is.
Nice.
And then this is a really interesting question. Is there any sort of like engine room or engineering or a place where you have to tend to this being?
I think it's also kind of like the brig, that there is, but only when it wants us to access that part. Like since it's moody and it has opinions, that like when it's injured or when it, I mean, obviously we can ask it too, but that it's another spot where like that opens up when and if it decides
that it needs help with something.
Yeah. Or like
Okay.
we ask it to like, hey, can you open up so we can check your systems? And,
Yeah, if you're going in for open heart surgery, you're not just that's not available all the time. That's a process
Yeah.
to get in there.
I like that. I kind of had like the picture of like a cat or a dog when they like don't feel good and they kind of come up and they're like, your ship's equivalent is like,
Yeah.
my tummy hurts. Come check on it.
Oh, look at it.
Nice. Okay, cool. And then infirmary. Do you have any sort of place where it's specifically for medical, or is it still going to be that galley table?
That or the spare room, one of the two.
Yeah, good call.
Okay, perfect. So there's not like an official infirmary. Okay, great.
It's not an infirmary that we've turned into a fourth room. It's a fourth room we've turned into an infirmary.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And if the patient's too bad, we put them in the brig to turn into bones.
All right, awesome. Anything else? Now, when you pick playbooks, there are going to be like specific things you can choose to add from each playbook. But anything else you want to add at this point?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
All right, so that's our ship, except for the name. So you've been saying it's like you've been using the word Mercury to describe it like a lot of this time.
I was thinking that Megan said it's very mercurial, and so is this our Critshow connection? We name it like Mercury in some number.
Is it the only one that exists, or are there like a bunch of them?
I think there's some out there. I think that there are others.
Yeah, I can't imagine that like this is like the last of its kind or anything like that, because I feel like that would make it a target.
Sure.
And I don't feel like we have as much secrecy
Yeah.
as a necessity. So it's like you don't see a lot of these anymore, but they're around.
Okay. It's like a stealth bomber. Like it's something that exists, but they're kind of, it's like, ooh, that's kind of special that they've got that.
Yeah, like some super fancy car goes by and people go, "Oh, nice. I haven't seen one of those in a while."
A number then, like Mercury, whatever number.
6, 7,
8008.
The area code. The area code here is Mercury 317.
There we go. That's the PG answer. I like
There
that.
we
All
go.
right, that's cool. Yeah.
And then pronouns?
I think it would be he, him, because that kind of gives credence to it being opinionated and us being able to communicate with it, because people usually default to calling ships a she or her. And it's like, that almost implies like he told us what he is.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have our ship now. So now we just need our crew. And so generally we do the ship first because it kind of gives a shared understanding of what flavor of Fortune's Fools are we. So then we can grab playbooks and kind of create those playbooks together in a way that has a little bit more shared purpose or is a little more seamless to work together. So there's 10 playbooks for this game. So we have the civilian, like the civilian's kind of the face character, the deal maker. Some touchstones for them are Quark from Star Trek. They can, their backgrounds, you can choose a background for each playbook. The civilian's choices are the diplomat, the religious leader, or the entrepreneur. So you can also be like Shepard from Firefly, or Londo from Babylon 5, Loxana Troy from Star Trek The Next Generation, super fun. The explorer is out there for science. So their backgrounds are the medical researcher, the academic scholar, or the scientific crusader. So some examples of that are Daniel Jackson from Stargate. So Simon Tam from Firefly, he's out there like he's the scientific crusader looking to help his sister. Captain Picard, actually, especially as you watch more seasons and they make him an archaeology buff. There's the greenhorn. I think the name tells you what it is. You can be the fresh-faced graduate, the prodigy, or the stray. There's also a hotshot, a rebel, an unfamiliar. There's a gifted, a normal, which is like your Miles O'Brien, your don't wear a red shirt, but everyone loves you. You've got the outsider and then the warrior playbooks. So yeah, grab what catches your eye.
I am looking at the rebel. I like the idea of the rebel has backgrounds of freedom fighter, redeemed, or saboteur. I like the idea of freedom fighter, so I think I'm going to start there.
I'm going to go with the hotshot. I like the idea of being a pilot with a living ship. I think that I'm young but really good at flying, and like I make friends with the ship that way.
And I'm going to do the unfamiliar. I like the idea of this strange mercurial ship, and so one of the background options for the unfamiliar is an artificial life form. So I'm thinking of some kind of like caretaker, something that was built to specifically take care of this style of ship.
All right, so on your playbooks up at the top, there's the section that every playbook has, where you put your name, age. For this one specifically, you also have a species and homeworld that you need to fill in, your look and demeanor, and then also your pronouns. There's like a bank of suggestions there you can pull from, or you can make up your own as always. And then under that, there are stats, and there is directions for each playbook on what your stat array will start as. And then you'll notice underneath each stat, there's some conditions, and those are going to be important later. So kind of make note of where those are.
Okay, so I'm thinking, I'm just a human. I'm going with the name Achilles Hearth. He, him pronouns, around age 40. picking my home world is/was called Anola. Achilles is kind of a little guy. He's just kind of short, wiry, just built like a little like farmhand, kind of like he's tough but little. I've picked the freedom fighter background, so that will make my stats body 2, brains 0, courage 1, heart -1, and savvy 0. And I have some picks for my background specifically. I pick 3 things that my cause fought for, and I cross one out, one of those that I was secretly working against. So I'm picking to win back territory from your foe, which gives me the skill for shooting. And also, I'm going to pick to rebuild your population, which gives me the skill for engineering. And I'm crossing one out that is to save the royal family line. I'm imagining, I'm not sure exactly what this conflict was, aside from like an invading force. I imagine something to do with the royal family like ditching us halfway through the fight, and like some of the people being like, yeah, get them out, get them to safety, but another section of us going like, no, well, now we're definitely going to fall apart because our leaders can't even be bothered to be here. So that's the one I'm like crossing out here, I think.
Awesome. Cool.
I think I'm gonna do a non-human kind of alien race. I think I'm like a bird person.
Okay.
Like I'm thinking kind of like the Rito from Legend of Zelda.
Not your Cool Ranch.
Cool Ranch, baby. I think it's like a bird person, but like more humanoid. Like I have feathers, but I can't fly. And I think that's part of why I'm a pilot. Like there's still that like call to the skies to be able to soar and fly, but I can't do that like biologically anymore.
Is that like a you thing or like your?
Not like the race.
Okay.
I think it is I'm gonna go with homeworld Plumeria.
Ooh.
And so Plumerian. My character's name is Blitz. Pronouns she, they. I think she's young, but not like a teenager, but like a little bit older than that. I think it's kind of weird with like bird ages.
Sure.
But like young enough to be like very new at this, and not like seasoned and experienced, but like unusually good at piloting. And for looks, I think she has like mint green feathers on her head that are like her hair, and wears a jacket with like a bunch of patches on it that almost make her look like a decorated pilot. But if you get close enough, you can see that they're just kind of like nonsense patches that they put on themselves. And then like cool aviator sunglasses that are just unnecessary because there's already that like shield, but just they wear them all the time. And for my background, I went with Famous Ace, which gives me +1 heart. So my stats are 0 body, -1 brain, 2 courage, +1 heart, and 0 savvy. So I get to take piloting as a skill and choose one you want everyone to know and cross off one you never speak of. So the thing I want everyone to know is how I survived a famous battle. So I think I was a pilot in the battle that you were talking about, Tass, where the royal family left and I was out on the battlefield, like doing 6 stunts and like was getting chased by like a bunch of the enemy and like outmaneuvered them all. And like I just never shut up about it.
Nice.
Like very cocky, very self-assured. And so I like to just make sure everybody knows like, hey, that was me. Have you heard of this? That was me. And if you haven't heard of it, well, you're about to.
Nice.
And the thing that I never talk about is my real name.
Oh, okay.
So for me, I am going to go with that idea of a artificial life form that was created specifically to caretake this type of ship. So my background is artificial life form, which gives me +1 body. My name is Parlay, or at least that's like my model name.
When you model?
Yes, that's when I strut the runway. That's the model name for the type of unit that deals with a Mercury of this size. That maybe there are like other model names depending on the size of the Mercury or its age, maybe.
Cool.
His pronouns are he, him. Look and demeanor. I'm thinking that I kind of look like Ultron from the movie, but less threatening. But it's that, like, I look like I'm made out of, I am made out of metal, but there's like muscles and facial features and all of that stuff that looks very humanoid, but still clearly is not humanoid. And I think I have been doing this job for 7 years, and I don't think I've had a system update in 3 years, which I think is what we take pride in. Like, that's what, like, if you were to ask me how old I am, I would probably say 3, because that's how long it's been since the company has thought we need to do something to make them better. Like, I have been as I'm supposed to be for 3 years now.
Nice.
So my species is Android, and my home world is Omnicron Manufacturing or whatever. And so the picks that I had for my artificial life form, I pick 2 things that I want to learn about and 1 thing that I regret knowing. So the 2 things I want to learn about are what love is, which gives me engineering, and why art is created, which gives me linguistics. And the thing that I wish I didn't learn is what death means. I think I was on this ship before in the battle, and my previous crew like died in that battle, and I didn't. So I think that kind of influences their perception of what it is they're trying to understand now. So that makes my stats +1 body, +2 brain, 0 courage, -1 heart, 0 savvy.
All right. So it seems like this battle was a really big, kind of pivot point for all of you, and kind of the nexus of how you all came together. We should probably have a name for that battle.
What was the planet task?
The planet is Enola, so the Battle of Enola. I'm sure there were many, many battles, so I don't know.
Battle.
Yeah.
The battle.
What if we just call it Enola's End? Sounds like it was like the final battle where like your people kind of lost the war, and does that sound good?
I like that. I actually like the idea that functionally, yes, that is when most people accepted, like, that's it. The royal family left. We're getting overwhelmed, but there were those of us that were like, no, like, we still have a chance. We don't need them. And like, just, it was futile, but like they kind of kept going. But the galaxy referred to it as, no, that was Enola's End.
Is it because like the family name, like the royal family was Enola, and they like referred to the planet as such, and because they were ousted, it was also seen as like the end of their reign,
like
their
their
control
lineage.
of the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
I like that. So if the royal family escaped during that battle, and so Achilles, you're upset about them leaving. You thought that they abandoned their people, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Blitz, can we kind of make it a little more juicy and have it where either on purpose or just because you're so good, your awesome flying in that battle was what let the royal family escape? Like, you gave them cover or something.
Ooh. Yeah, is that well known? Is that like part of my story?
I don't know. Maybe that's why you're hiding your name. Maybe you're ashamed of that, or I don't know.
I think, like, if we're going to be on a crew, I think I would be okay with the logic of you having just done your job. You did as commanded, etc. So I don't know that any shame would necessarily, I mean, that's up to you, obviously, but I don't think from even those of us that are pissed that the Royals left would be like mad at those assisting in the maneuver.
I don't think it would have been intentional.
Sure.
I think it would have been, I wasn't trying to help them escape. I was trying to get the high score.
Yeah, totally.
I love that.
But
Okay,
because I was drawing focus, that allowed them to get away or something.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. So underneath the backgrounds, you see there's a trust meter. Everyone's going to start at trusted which is kind of right in the middle. That's going to change after we do character connections in just a moment. Next to that is Seeing Red. So Seeing Red is a move that triggers, every playbook has its own unique list. So just for the familiar, I'll just read for the unfamiliar, I'll just read yours out since it's right there. So when a crewmate treats you like an object or pet, points out how different you are, or loses patience with your ignorance, those are things that trigger the unfamiliar. And so whenever one of the things on your Seeing Red like triggers, you immediately have to confront, connect, or act out, which are all basic moves. Or if you don't want to do any of these things, you can mark 2 conditions to kind of represent you internalizing those feelings about that incident. Then there's the experience and advancements, just very similar to most Powered by the Apocalypse games. And then you have your special bank of moves for your playbook. So you can choose 2 of those moves there.
I'm going to take Aim to Misbehave. Take an extra skill in a weapon or fighting proficiency. Explain how you learned that skill. For my background, I have already got to mark shooting. So I think I'm just going to take like fighting, like brawling, that whenever I joined up, I don't think I was like military on this planet. I think I was one of the people that joined in guerrilla style and just had to, do what we could do and rose through the ranks there and just learned to fight, by necessity.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick, what is a skill?
So a skill in sci-fi, what you know is often so important, right? So we have Klingons next to regular humans. So the stats affect things somewhat, but also being trained to run equipment, things like that are such a big part of that type of fiction. I wanted to make sure I embedded that in Powered by the Apocalypse. So if you have a skill in something, you get to add +1 to any roll where you can convince me that skill would apply.
Oh, okay.
So
Nice.
if you know specific things about biology, maybe that helps you when you're punching someone. So if you can come up with a reason for it, I am a fierce but benevolent dictator, and I take pitches, and so use it creatively.
Then for my other move, I picked Pep Talk. You've been in the trenches and know what people need to hear. When you open up about your past experiences in a dire moment, you and the crewmates who can hear you all clear a condition.
Nice.
For my moves, I'm going with Caution to the Wind, Spend Trust to roll any move with advantage when you buck the rules and follow your instincts. And my other one is Save the Audience. Roll +Courage instead of +Body if force is necessary, while a crewmate or love interest is watching. You want to live up to your reputation.
That's so good.
And mine are Not Like You. You can survive things that most of the crew members cannot. When faced with a substance or environmental condition that is dangerous to the crew, roll +Body. On a 10+, I'm completely immune, and on a 7 to 9, it is affecting me slower or it's less dangerous, and I ignore the first condition because of the environment, which I think goes into how I survived when the rest of my crew died. Like, I think it was in ship battle, but they, lost pressurization or something.
Oh, yeah.
And then my other move is Minions. You have a number of small minions to help with engineering or scientific tasks and ship maintenance. They cannot be used in combat. Their assistance gives you or any single crewmate you desire +1 for any physical task involving technology, and they independently repair 1 ship damage box a day without any rolls. Describe the minions, including if they are robotic, organic, or something else. So I described before that my body, that I look like the movie version of Ultron. I think that those muscles, I think that my minions are all part of my physical structure. That bicep comes off and it rolls away like a pill bug and goes and does a job and comes back, that they are all pieces of me that break off into, for some reason, I'm just stuck on this idea of them looking like metallic bugs, like that my shoulder blade is a ladybug. And yeah.
I love that.
What are both of your Seeing Red conditions?
Oh, yeah. Mine are when someone insults my cause, when someone questions my morality, or when someone holds my past against me.
Ooh. Mine are when a crewmate insults someone I respect, criticizes my performance, or mocks my exploits or failures.
Okay.
Awesome. All right. Now that we all know who we are, we're going to go around the table. We're going to do our connections. So there's 3 questions on each playbook, and each of them have a blank. That blank should be filled with another PC's name. There are 3 questions on there. We only have 3 players, so you're only going to fill in 2 of them today. So pick whichever 2 you feel, meet our needs today and our narrative best. And you will see there that there's a +1 or -1 trust to the different questions. That benefit or penalty is going to go to the character whose name is in the blank. So if you put their name in there, they're the one who's going to get the plus or minus of trust there.
Oh, okay.
So everyone's at trusted right now, but that's now going to fluctuate.
And what does trust do?
So trust is a microeconomy in the game. It represents how much overall your crew obviously trusts you, how they feel about you at the moment. You gain it and you lose it. You do also have to spend it. There's basic moves and there's crew moves. And the crew moves are how you clear conditions for the most part. So if you're, marking a bunch of conditions, it's starting to affect your stats, you're going to need to talk with a crewmate. You can do that by connecting with them, having a heartfelt moment where you're being open and vulnerable with them. Maybe you're, blowing off some steam, you're acting out and, you're punching a wall or something like that. Or maybe you're confronting. If you marked conditions because of something a crewmate did, then maybe, you are going to confront them and talk to them about it. Like, you did this, you put us in danger and it can't happen again. So those are all playbook moves that you can use. You can also use it to assist and to, have that epic trust me moment. There's the trust me move where it's basically you're pitching a plan to one or many crewmates, and it can be anything as big as, I can get us out of the situation. Trust me, I can do it. Follow my plan, everyone. That big, cinematic moment. Or it can be like you quietly sitting at a bar and be like, trust me, if you use this approach, she will go out with you. It'll be fine. So anything in there where you're trying to get them to follow your plan for things. That's the trust me move.
Okay. Well, I certainly have a couple of ideas for these connections. I'm thinking for Rev, Parlay, is that the name again? Okay. Not everyone knows the details of my past, but I decided to open up to you. And whether you gain or lose a trust here depends on, did I like your reaction? So, I think the thing I opened up about is, the depths of how I felt about that betrayal of the royal line. And, I think it's fairly common, probably Blitz knows that I'm unhappy about that situation, but not, I don't really open up about it on that emotional level much. And so I did to you to be like, am I out of line? Is this, I need perspective from somebody that's a little more analytical than I think I can be. And yeah, really kind of looked for your guidance and insight on that.
So you're looking to see how I reacted to that?
Yeah.
I don't think I understand the element of one life being more important than another. And so, I think that's totally fair that, oh yeah, these other people on these ships, were sacrificing themselves for this person to get away. I don't think I have a loyalty to the crown. I think I have a loyalty to the ship. I think that I understand that frustration.
Okay, in that case, +1 to trust.
Okay.
And my other one, I think this works for Blitz. Blitz doesn't have as much experience as me, but they have a lot of talent. What did they do that first caught your eye? And I think it was literally me being on the battlefield and seeing you fly and just seeing you tear through everybody and thinking, whoever that pilot is, we're gonna be friends. And then, so, whatever happened through that battle, and I must have sought you out after the fact to just shake your hand and be like, you got it, you got to fly for me. Let's do this.
Yeah, makes sense. I'm impressive.
So you also get +1.
Excellent. I think I have one that fits really well for Achilles. You don't have a lot in common with Achilles, but you bonded during a dangerous endeavor. What did they do to earn your respect? And I think it was the aftermath of the battle and everyone kind of scrambling and trying to get where they needed to go, and you calling me out and being like, you're excellent. I need you on this. I need you on this ship. I need you on this ship, and kind of acknowledging my abilities. I think that's something that I didn't really experience a lot because a lot of higher ups who were more experienced and decorated chastised me a lot for taking risks or being a little too arrogant. And in reality, that may have been completely deserved. But as far as she's concerned, you showed her respect that she deserved, and that earned her respect in turn. So +1 trust to you.
Okay, thank you.
And then the other one, you think Parlay doesn't buy your act. What do you fear they see? I think it's because you're so mechanical. I can't read your emotions very well. And the kind of bravado and self-assuredness that isn't an act per se, but is a mask to some extent. Like, I think they lay it on when they're around people, but you don't react the same way. And that is what is unsettling. And I think it seems like maybe you're seeing a little deeper than I want you to.
Oh, so you're like afraid that I see not the pilot, but the person.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Like, I want to be remembered and recognized for how cool I am, essentially. And
but not perceived.
Yeah. Yeah, the fact that you're not impressed is uncomfortable to me. And that's actually -1 trust for you.
Oh, okay. So with the idea of me being on this ship and it going down and you, Achilles, saying like, oh, I need Blitz, like, did you salvage the Mercury and find me? Like, is that how we're connected?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not like we were not given this ship, but because it was kind of quote unquote thought destroyed or whatever, and you salvaged it and then you're looking for a pilot.
I think so. That's great. I like that.
Okay.
That's really good.
Why this ship or this type of ship specifically?
You know what? I think this is the type of ship that the Royals escaped on.
Ooh.
Oh.
And so there's something, I don't know that I know what it is. I don't think I'm smart enough to have like connected any dots on why I'm like, I have to do the same thing, but there might be something in my head of like, well, I know these things are living and maybe it can give me information and maybe it can help me track them down.
Oh, I love that.
And the idea of like decoy ships that maybe the Royals were able to afford like 3 or 4 of these and they all left at the same time.
Oh.
And like so that the enemy wouldn't know which one they were on.
Oh God. So maybe even literally my approach to this ship was they could be dead in this ship right now. And you know, it was not them. So I'm like, all right, well, here we go.
Okay.
Oh, good. Well done.
Okay.
Like
So
that.
my connections are Achilles seems more curious about you than anyone else. Is their interest genuine curiosity? It sounds like yes, because of my connection to the ship or connection to just this bigger picture.
Yeah. Like I have engineering as one of my skills, and the fact that this is a living ship is extremely interesting to me too. So I think I would probably spend a lot of time with you, like trying to understand how you work compared to it and like, you know, get your insight and perspective on that and learning how to fix things in case you're incapacitated. And,
Okay. So that gives you a +1.
Ooh.
And I think mine for Blitz. Blitz, what's your downtime like? Are you a lover, a fighter? Are you flirty? Are you like, what's your deal?
Oh, definitely flirty. I don't think I'm a fighter, what with the hollow bird bones and all.
Yeah.
But I think I'm definitely trying to take advantage of any celebrity that I might have or try to have and flirting with anyone and everyone.
So I think I observe Blitz to learn more about romantic intentions. I don't know that that's good, but that is the model I've got at the moment.
That's even better, actually.
Yeah, so that gives you a +1 as well.
Great.
I like this. I dig this situation.
Yeah.
It's very good. All right, I think that's everyone, and everyone has their trust moved. So the last thing is each playbook gets to pick a ship customization. So this is something that you get to add to our ship. So if you spend time there, like a number of hours, maybe you go hang out your day off while you're traveling or whatever there, you get to clear a condition. If you spend time there with another PC for that length of time, then you get to clear 2 conditions. So let's see, we'll start off with the hotshot. Your ship customizations are a garage, a place to wrench and work on ships, a clubhouse, a place to hang out with others. That can also just be like a wet bar under your bunk or whatever. That's fine. Just kind of whatever you make it. Or a simulator, something to keep your skills sharp.
A simulator, absolutely. I think it's basically like me and the ship playing video games together. Like I'm always wanting to fly even when I can't, or even when I'm not having to do something difficult. Like basically if you're going on a long road trip and there's not much to see and you wish you could be doing something else, I'm just doing like fancy flight maneuvers in the simulator while I'm on autopilot.
Nice. For our rebel, you've got 3 choices. Drown it out, a busy and loud place that drowns out your past. A stash, a hidden supply of survival gear, and maybe an escape route. Or a memorial, a place to remember those who are gone.
I think I would want to drown it all out.
Okay.
Yeah, just have a place where whether it's like music or playing my own sorts of games or something where I can just crank the static and be at peace in that way.
Nice, cool. All right. And for unfamiliar, you can choose between a collection, odds and ends from your travels through the universe, odd accommodations, a place where you have to plug in or recharge, or a window to the stars, a place where you can see the vastness of space and think about your place in it.
I think it's the last one. I think it was the first, and I think that was all destroyed, and now it's the third one. Like now I am trying to take in kind of the bigger picture instead of just what's inside the ship and what is the crew.
Great. Awesome. All right. Those are all the main things. Now we kind of have already answered the question that we posed at the very, very beginning. If you remember when we talked about being Fortune's fools, we asked what pushed your group together and why are you staying together? We've already kind of answered that question through the creation process, which generally, honestly, is what happens most of the time. So you were pushed together because of Enola's End, this massive battle and all the different roles that you played in it. And then why are you staying together? You're on this ship. What is inspiring or pulling you together?
I like the prompt here you have of we're looking for someone or something. Mm-hmm. And I like the idea of it being something. Like we're all very different characters. Like what would it be that unites us all? Like we're all on the ship together. What keeps moving us forward? What if it's like the ship is looking for something and we all think it's something different? Like maybe however the ship communicates, like it just says it wants to find a treasure or something.
Oh, that like it's like it needs a crew because it's going to seek out a treasure, and we all think a treasure means something different.
Exactly. Like for me, it's literal. Like I think that this is something that will put my name in the books.
Yeah, I like that. Like if yours is literal treasure, I feel like mine would be, I don't think that these are built. I think maybe they're adapted a little bit, but that they come from someplace. And so my mind is kind of on the thought of, oh, it wants to go back to wherever it's from. That would be its treasure. So I want to see that.
Like a salmon.
Yeah.
I like this. I like this a lot. I was kind of thinking that there's a measure of Achilles just kind of ignoring everything and like moving on from the war and just wanting to get out and just experience new things. But really, in the back of his mind, he just wants to hunt down that royal family and, get answers for why they would do this. And so there's this aspect of like, that's really what the ship's talking about. That's what it's talking about. He's going to help me find this family. And he's like promising me this.
Oh, because they belonged to the family.
Yeah.
And so that you think like that would be what it considers treasure.
Like I have to go back to my, okay.
Yeah, I love that it could be a lot of things. Mm-hmm. But everyone is just very confident that theirs is the right one. Yeah. And that's why we're continuing together. Like circumstances brought us together, but we're all pursuing the same thing, even though we all think that thing is different things.
Mm-hmm. I dig it.
And so before we start our adventure, we've made our ship, we've done all these things. I just want you to mark 2 conditions just as kind of like starting places that represent how your character's feeling right now. And anything that works for you. I've had people mark 2 conditions. Now, underneath each stat, there's 2 conditions. If both those conditions are marked, then that stat is crashed, and that stat becomes -1. It doesn't take a -1, it becomes -1, no matter what it is, until one of those conditions is cleared.
I'm going to go with resentful under heart, just because of, that whole situation, resenting the royals. And I think a little insecure. I think I know that I know what I'm doing with like trying to put a little team together and having gotten going and doing all these things. Like, who am I to do this? That's weird. So under brains, I'm taking the insecure.
Great.
I'm going to take selfish under body and reckless under savvy.
Nice.
I'm going to take disillusioned under courage and also reckless under savvy.
Nice.
Yeah.
And just so you know, the conditions are all different for each playbook. So even some of the ones that are listed on some playbooks are not listed on others, and their placement underneath the different stats is different to kind of reflect that playbook and that archetype.
Nice.
Well, it seems like we have our characters, we have our ship, we have our universe, and we have our story. So maybe we should start playing.
Sounds good.
We're going to open on you approaching this massive space station. Off in the distance, there is a black hole, like the singularity with the cool, like, orangey kind of thing that it's shown in art all the time. And one of the neat things about this space station is that a lot of the larger beings in the universe actually feed off a lot of the energy and things that are being pulled into this section by this black hole. So the Mercury ships, which is kind of what you call them because it's too hard to pronounce their specific language, they're able to communicate with you, but it's tricky for them. They get frustrated and tired, speaking this primitive language that, common in the universe. So this is actually a very common place for beings like these Mercury ships to come to feed. And this is probably why you would come here to make sure that Mercury or 317 has enough food. And also, Achilles, it's very possible that this would be a place where the royal family, if they were still on the run, might come with their ships and if they're even still with the other ships in their little fleet.
Okay.
So this space station is called Haxel Way, and it is this strange mixture of a massive number of loading docks and a space mall. So people come here, they park their ship. If they have a living ship, the living ships often kind of sail off to feed for a while, sometimes without their crews, depending on the species. The Mercurials are like a very like one of the more high-end type of living ships in the universe, but there's a lot of different ones. They are the ones that are preferred by the connoisseurs of living ships, as it were, because they are so malleable and they do have so many different functions. Walking through the space station, you'd have, bars. There are, versions of hotels so people can stay, out of their ship for a few days while they're here and while their ship's feeding or while they're, unloading cargo. There are also a bunch of just regular ships here because it is kind of one of those like waypoints in the galaxy that's just kind of like a stop on the way to other places. And it does have a lot of trade there. So there are a lot of, people who live on this space station and own a business or things like that. So it's this cacophony of things running around. And you do see, as you're approaching, you do see that there are other Mercury ships there. And 317 is very excited. You can tell when 317's excited about something because even though Blitz is doing an amazing job flying, like things get a little jerky. Like they kind of like just very like hyped up. Like if you can picture, they're like a teenager, but even teenagers get like the toddler excitement, like too much sugar. That's sort of what's happening. So when Blitz, you turn, so it's just like very over responsive and okay.
I reach out and pat the console. All right, handsome. I'm hungry too.
317, is there some form here that you recognize?
There are many like us as well. Friends and food and friends party?
Ah, but none that you have met before.
Unsure. We would have to speak with them. We must be closer to speak with them.
Does it look like there are any open loading docks near the other Mercuries?
Yeah, this place is pretty much like, if you picture a buoy, one of those tall, skinny ones that floats in the ocean, there's like this giant cylinder in the middle that just has like almost, it's like a skyscraper kind of floating in space with just circled like hula hoops all the way up and down it, just tons and tons and tons of like parking spaces basically for every size and ship you can imagine. Some of them look really well made and really well maintained, and some of them look like they're sort of jury rigged and like, maybe we won't park on that one. But it's very much also, you can tell, okay, the ones near the shops are for like the touristy ships, and the ones near the loading docks are the bigger ones for the cargo ships and things like that. It's very, you can tell it's been built by necessity. So it kind of started at one place, and as more people came here, it got nicer, and we added the mall section now and things like that. So things got a little more high end as they went.
All right, let's go say hi, and I'll steer the ship over towards the other Mercuries.
Yep, you can go and you can land. Like most Power by the Apocalypse games, you don't roll unless like there's a question. And so parking in a parking spot, like you've done a bazillion times, is not something you would make a roll for. Yeah, you park it there, and you can kind of hear there's this very high-pitched, kind of like bees buzzing, but at different scales on the musical scale. And it's bumping up and down. So you're basically hearing something that's sort of akin to whale songs, but more of like an insect buzz. And that is how you can tell that 317 has started up a conversation with the Mercury next to it. And then there's one that kind of chimes in, and suddenly there's three of them sitting here next to Mercury, 317. And they're all just having a very rapid conversation.
I'm going to let that go on, but I just want to see what I can see with my own eyes. And so I'm just going to roll out and stroll along and just kind of keep an eye out, see if I notice any pilots that would have the clothes or the style that I know that the Royals pilot would have. Mm-hmm. See if I recognize any faces. Just, anything that I might be able to find out here.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the moment, it doesn't seem like there's, I'm not going to have you roll because like there's definitely signs here. This would be a place that the royal family could be. You don't see, obviously, at this point, they probably aren't wearing, like, they don't have their, Enola guard in full dress, like hanging out outside their ship. But there's definitely like, this is a high-end place. They would have places to stay. And there's definitely quite a number. There's some Mercury ships that are a little bit too far away right now for 317 to talk to. But you're looking around, there are so many Mercury ships here. It's very strange that there'd be this many here, even though it's like a good feeding ground for them.
Ooh, interesting.
And Parlay and Blitz, you're still in the ship?
Yes.
Yep.
So that excited kind of like jerky vibrating that we talked about earlier, like suddenly it's on the next level. 317 is just vibrating, and it hits this really high, happy note. So if you can imagine a bee singing like a high C, because C is like the happy note, like that is what you're hearing right now. And there's actually kind of a little bit of an echo of happy notes coming from the other ships that are parked there on the dock with them. And then those of you inside the ship hear 317 say, "It's here, here. The treasure is here."
Journey among the stars with your crew and ship bonding through adversity and becoming a found family in Starscape by Golden Lasso Games. Inspired by shows like Star Trek, Cowboy Bebop, and Battlestar Galactica, this sci-fi PBTA game is available on Kickstarter now until August 8th. Go to goldenlassogames.com/Starscape to learn more.